Another of my forgotten classic series. This one's by the great director Sergio Leone of spaghetti western fame, and here's his last western. It's called Duck, You Sucker. Let me tell you why I think this is really good, but I don't know why people haven't seen this. They probably should. Coming up next. So Leone made Duck, You Sucker, but as you can see, my copy here says A Fistful of Dynamite, and that's how you might find it on the internet, how you might find a disc. I would snatch these up because these probably are going to go away and become rare. I think this is a really good movie, and of course Leone made this after two of his most famous movies. In fact, after the Man with No Name trilogy, A Fistful of Dollars for a Few Dollars More, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and then he made Once Upon a Time in the West. Well, he wasn't going to make another Western, but he ended up making this one right after Once Upon a Time in the West. And here you have a director at the height of his powers and probably fame as well. So you get this is like watching Tarantino, like Tarantino's eighth movie. Of course, Tarantino loves Leone. But why haven't people said more about this movie? I just don't see it very much on the internet and great westerns lists. And of course, with his other, like Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is so celebrated. I actually like this movie better than The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That may just be me. But if you like Leone's other movies, this one definitely is worth watching. This video is mostly for people who haven't seen it, though if you've seen this movie, you may get something out of this. I think there's several reasons to try this, and one is that Leone is mashing together stuff from the Man with No Name trilogy and Once Upon a Time in the West. The movie features two characters, and one is played by Rod Steiger. Here you have a white guy playing a Mexican, so who knows what you think about that, but he actually is doing sort of a Tuco impersonation. You remember Tuco from Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I would call this Tuco's long-lost cousin, very emotive and greedy and individualistic for a while. And it's a really interesting performance. I like Steiger a lot. And then you compare that with the other guy, the very cool character, the Irish bomber, the handler of explosive, played by the great James Coburn. And these two team up to do a bunch of things, which I'll talk about in a minute, but I love these two together. And you sort of got the blend of Clint Eastwood and Tuco, but not quite, a variation on that already with these two main characters who you're going to follow throughout the movie. I think you'll really like those two together. And with the Tuco storyline, here you've got, Leone is getting into revolutionary politics, and he quotes Mao Zedong at the beginning of the movie. We're in the Mexican Revolution in the 19-teens. You have this paterfamilias type played by Rod Steiger who is just raiding. He's a bandit, as it were. But he inadvertently, I love this sort of plot line, gets looped into the revolution, and he becomes a revolutionary inadvertently. He wants gold, he wants treasure, he wants to rob a bank, but he gets involved in a political affair that's ideological. It's more than he can handle. And the Coburn character coming along with him, for various reasons, you should just watch the opening and see how they get together. It's a great opening 25 minutes here, is more ideological, more political. Of course, he's from Ireland originally. He seems to be an IRA type guy, and he understands the politics, I think, of revolution, or both these characters learn to become more, let's say, wider in their scope and in their vision. They become more politically oriented. Of course, this is during the time of the Vietnam War and revolutionary sorts of thinking, so that's what this movie is sort of hinting at here. And I like that arc for these characters, from greedy, individualistic, out for themselves, to more involved in different affairs of the world, whether that's good or bad, or however you want to evaluate that. I like the three-dimensionality to these characters and the character arcs in this movie. During the movie, one of the guys is into explosives. He's a great explosive expert. That's why you get the title Duck, You Sucker. I should even say Duck, You Sucker, and if you know English and slang, what this title is alluding to, but that title, probably trying to be a catchphrase, I'm not sure that ever caught on, is used throughout the movie, or at least a few times in the movie, to indicate explosives. It's a very cool movie as far as explosives, because Coburn is playing sort of his great escape character, combined with the Steve McQueen characters. You remember the Cooler Queen, the guy on the motorcycle in The Great Escape, and Coburn is such a cool figure. I love the look of the guy, his mustache. He's great on film. I think he's one of the great movie stars, underrated movie stars that there's ever been. Leone knows how to stylize this with these two figures. And I kind of wish Coburn was in earlier Man with No Name fare. He was supposed to be in Once Upon a Time in the West, and he wasn't in that until he saw that movie. And then he decided to be in Duck, You Sucker. Stylization-wise, Leone is at the peak of his powers. I mean, he is in control of everything from really serious moments, sentimental moments. He peppers humor throughout. He knows how to cut. He knows when to be bombastic and heavily stylized. I appreciate what he's doing here. It's sort of quasi-postmodern, but quasi-realistic or a little bit realistic. And I really like the blend of those things in this movie. Once it's entertainment, but also it's more serious fare. And that's my criticism, or has been, of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I think that it's too sentimental at times, and wrongly so, and doesn't understand its stylization. This movie, I think, is a little bit better that way. I like the scenes of cast of thousands or hundreds, the bombing scenes. There's all kinds of great stuff in here, and it's captivating throughout its 2-hour and 30-minute runtime. And last, I found in The Good and the Bad, the Ugly, I really, really love the Tuco character. Actually, that's my favorite part of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but there's not a lot of transformation and three-dimensionality to that character, and as I said, here, you actually do have that, and it's warranted. I think it's really done very well. This character, played by Rod Steiger, going from bandit to semi, or not, inadvertent revolutionary, which I find pretty interesting. And that's how I track through this movie, is watching that character grow, develop, and change, and how that happens. I find that to be one of the best parts of the movie, and I think it's pretty unusual in Westerns to have such interesting three-dimensional characters. At least that's how I read the movie. So that's why I would watch Duck You Sucker, and I put it in Leone's top 3. Actually, for me, it's one of the best Westerns ever. I think it's in the top 30 Westerns ever. What do you think about Duck You Sucker? Have you ever watched this movie, and what are your questions about it? Let us know in the comments. Please subscribe to this channel for more great content. Thank you. Have a great day.